So this last weekend, I decided to check out what movies were playing. There was, of course, only one movie that really topped the list so much that I just had to go. Much like I will have to see both movies on Barbieheimer Day, I knew that I had to see this particular new version of The Little Mermaid. Even if the way the underwater creatures were animated looked very wrong to me, since I have been down under the ocean to see what they look like for real, the uncanny valley hit me right here. I would have preferred if they did a bed knob and broomsticks kind of thing, where they use the cartoon fish with the live action underwater scenes, so we get the best of both.
Beautiful briny sea.
But more on that later. It's time to tell you what I think of this movie. Oh yeah, and not that you should worry about this because good stories can't be spoiled and are actually made better by knowing what happens ahead of time, but spoilers for the entire movie are in effect. You have until the title screen drops to run away until you've seen this movie.
Gimme, gimme, gimme. I need some more. Gimme, gimme, gimme. Don't ask what for.
This movie's fantastic. I find it much better, actually, than the original Disney animation. For one thing, Prince Eric has a purpose and a backstory rather than just being aboard a ship and a backdrop for Ariel's journey.
Abandoned ship!
Ariel falls in love with him because, in this version, she watches him literally go back during a shipwreck and save his dog, Max. It's a save the cat moment with a dog, and it gives Eric the personality that he always needed to be interesting.
As I edit the video, I remember that actually in the original version, he also goes back to save Max, but I think it's much more effective in this version, and it's much more clear that the reason that Ariel first is attracted to Eric is specifically because she sees his kind and compassionate side, which specifically she mentioned more clearly to her father in this version.
I get that the princes are usually boring, and yes, Eric was a far cry from Prince Ferdinand or whatever his name is in Snow White, but Philip fights Maleficent, and Prince Charming is at least actively looking for Cindy. I can call her Cindy. I go way back with her mouse buddy Jacques. I have him do all of my tailoring. We learned that years ago, Ariel's mother died because of something never fully explained that happened between the surface world and the underwater world. So chalk up another dead mother for Disney. Since then, mermaid people are not to go to the surface. So King Triton is complicit in that trope of a husband too mopey about his dead wife to listen to his living children and understand their needs, especially Ariel, who wants to be part of the human world. But you know all of this. You've seen the animated movie. You want to know what made this, in my mind, a superior version. Here's a quick rundown. Eric is 21 and Ariel is 18 in this version, as far as I understand. That's much less creepy. Those are both ages that people in college might be. Ariel cannot be accused of not being able to read in this version, and there is no signing of a contract. Instead, she rips off a mermaid scale when she makes her deal with Ursula, which she is basically pressured into. Melissa McCarthy does a fine job as Ursula, chewing the scenery.
The kiss of true love.
Though someone more like Divine would have been better.
Kill everyone now. Condone first-degree murder. Advocate cannibalism. Eat.
I suppose that, however, would have gotten this movie banned in Florida. As a side note here, all of the performances from the human actors were great, and once I got over the animation, the voice acting also really worked for me with the animated characters, especially Sebastian, even though he's basically the same as he ever was.
One day when the boss get hungry, guess who gonna be on the plate? Oh no!
Ursula wants power, and she makes it clear that Ariel's just a means to an end, and she very clearly says that she stopped Ariel from remembering all of the conditions of their deal. In other words, whereas in the original version, there's an argument that Ariel broke a contract knowingly, unless you've watched that fantastic recent Legal Eagle episode showing why that's not the case, in this version, the contract is clearly and entirely in bad faith. One of the other great changes is that Eric and Ariel spend a lot more time together. Eric's I Want song, which he gets in this version and showed up about a minute after I said, are they going to give Eric an I Want song? He seems to have more personality here. Says that he wants something out there, something that he's searching for, and to borrow a Bobby Darin phrase, he's searching beyond the sea.
But I'm still lost at sea, in these wild, uncharted waters, come find me.
He shows off everything he's collected to Ariel in an interesting scene. We know that she loves collections, so this version of the character seems much better matched.
Look at this stuff. Isn't it neat?
Eric's actually adopted in this version too, and his mother wants to keep him at home instead of out on the dangerous sea, which he says is attacking the island. a reference to the elliptical thing that happened between the sea people and the human people who are divided by this until the ending. Ariel always sang that she wanted to be where the people are, and in this version, she and Eric sneak out of the palace and actually go spend time among a market with the people. All day, in fact, before we get to Kiss the Girl, which has a way better line about consent and asking Ariel if he can kiss her first.
Possible she wants you to use your words, boy, and ask her.
It's better. Fight me. Of course, Ariel doesn't quite kiss him because, as you know, Flotsam and Jetsam knock over the boat. But it's clear that Ariel and Eric have a love connection, even though Eric is looking for the mysterious girl who saved him. How he doesn't know it's Ariel isn't quite clear, but he's thinking more with his heart than with his sense. Since things are going so well between Eric and Ariel, Ursula pulls her Vanessa stuff until Ariel exposes her. And then King Triton straight up dies when he trades Ariel's life for his own. He literally dies. King Triton has always represented an old patriarchal approach to the world. He literally threw a fit when Ariel wanted something different than him, wanted to go somewhere else, wanted to forge her own path. He destroyed her stuff. He forbid her from going where she wants and being the person that she wants to be. He enforces a dividing line between the mer people and the surface world. Only after he dies does his mind change completely, and even then, when he comes back to life, he at first attempts to keep Ariel underwater until he sees just how miserable she is. Since we are all adults here and know how to read a Howard Ashman vehicle as a queer allegory, this movie seems to accidentally say that the only way to move forward from old ways of thinking is for those ways to literally die. Metaphorically also. So I just finished recording the basic part of this video when I remembered something that I definitely wanted to cover that I did not, especially since I saw someone saying the classic criticism that I have given of the original movie as well, that it's a story teaching people that in order to be part of the world of men, part of the world of people, that women like Ariel should not talk. However, even though Ariel cannot talk in this movie, she is able to communicate, and in one compelling scene actually uses what she can do in order to teach Eric her name. So she does learn how to communicate in this version, so that criticism is lessened by this case. It is not that she doesn't talk, it's that she cannot speak, which are two completely different things. All right, back to your regularly scheduled video. I don't think that the Shakespeare named characters would mind if I tell you that all's well that ends well, and Ariel is given her feet by her father, whose trident gives him just the power to do anything that the plot needs him to do. The epilogue shows Ariel and Eric going off on an adventure, and the mer people and the humans are standing side by side, having learned how to live together. Oh yeah, and I didn't even mention that Grimsby becomes an important player in this version. He definitely helps Eric find Ariel. I think he's seen this movie before, and he's having fun being a stern servant who gives in to Eric's every demand for adventure and love. The only thing I missed was Les Poissons, and there was no reason you couldn't have put a scene where Sebastian almost gets cooked.
Les poissons, how I love les poissons!
So this movie was, as I said, fantastic. It was interesting, the songs were so well performed, and I even cried a little bit when it seemed that Ariel would actually stay below the surface, never to see Eric again, something that the first frame of the movie hinted at, literally telling the viewers that mermaids have no tears, therefore they suffer more, a quote from the original story. I highly recommend this film. However, there are a few caveats that threw me out of the movie. The first was the strange animation of the underwater creatures. The mer people look great. Ursula is fun with lots of fun bits with her tentacles who seem to have minds of their own. But Flounder and Scuttle and Sebastian all looked very creepy to me. It took me about 30 minutes into the movie to get used to it. I know it's all about CGI these days, but I really think that a Mary Poppins or Bedknobs and Broomsticks thing would have worked much better here with modern drawn versions based on the original animation.
On the bottom of the beautiful briny sea.
The second thing that threw me out of the movie, and this is in the animated version too, is that encounter with Glut the shark. Glut doesn't talk at all here, but does chase Flounder and Ariel around as in the original, acting as a minor antagonist. The shark would eat Flounder for sure, but given what we know about sharks and humans, and assuming sharks in a world with mer people would be familiar with mer people, let me just back up and say, look it up. Look up the anti-shark ethos and how damaging such shark attack nonsense is. This channel has a firm anti-shark as monster media policy. The only shark we're afraid of around here is Chevy Chase.
Candygram.
Candygram my foot. You get out of here before I call the police. You're the shark and you know it.
Wait, I'm only a dolphin, ma'am.
A dolphin? Well, okay.
Lastly, there's a moment that jarred me that is small, but leads me to consider what I've called the Goofy problem. Remember that Goofy is a dog, but an anthropomorphized dog, and so is Pluto. They know each other, and Goofy seems to have no problem with Pluto's status as a second-class dog citizen. Oh boy, you could overanalyze that, especially if you think about that episode of Donald Glover's Atlanta, The Goof Who Sat by the Door.
He did this chilling laugh. You know, like Goofy, but broken.
They're both dogs, but there is clearly a hierarchy. So in a similar vein, when Scuttle is introduced, this time as a female gannet instead of a Buddy Hackett-voiced seagull, she eats a fish right in front of Flounder. I get that this must be something fish in the ocean see hundreds of times a day. After all, as Mitch Hedberg says, if fish could scream, the ocean would be loud as. But it's jarring that Flounder watches Scuttle devour a fish and then thinks nothing of it at all, especially a Flounder that was just scared of a shark eating him. Disney movies often reinforce the idea of hierarchies of difference. Goofy versus Pluto, Flounder versus the poor dead unnamed fish sitting in the stomach of Scuttle, and even the fact that in Zootopia the carnivores and herbivores can work together and get along, but certainly cannot engage in romantic relationships. That reinforces certain societal divisions. And yes, I am overanalyzing such things, but that's what we do around here. One last issue, and it is a small one because the songs and performances were very good overall, though the more realistic Under the Sea is much more abstract than in the original. There's a new song called The Scuttlebutt, which doesn't fit in at all with the other more classical musical stylings of the movie. Lin-Manuel Miranda just had to force one of his awkward raps into this movie.
Okay, now huddle up, buttercup. From the women who wash all the clothes to the hunter who arrows the bows, the chatter all over the palace is that your Prince Eric is gonna propose.
What? It just doesn't work. A song that ties much more musically into the previous established style would work better here, even one where Ariel is singing in her head about how things are going until she sees Eric with Vanessa, or Le Poisson, which was left out for who knows what reason. But that's a small thing and only one short part of one scene. The I Want song for Eric that Lin-Manuel Miranda wrote worked very well, so I don't know how the ball was so dropped here. But that's really all I found wrong with it, tiny little things that could be spun off into some Matt Pat theory. I'll look forward to that video. So overall, what is my review of the movie? Pretty simple. It's to go out and watch it. In a week or so, however, I will be comparing this movie to the Martin McDonagh play, A Very, Very, Very Dark Matter.
Little babies getting their hands chopped off.
Yes, that's the same Martin McDonagh of the Banshees of Inisherin.
I'll take those shears, and I'll take one of my fingers off with them, and I'll give that finger to you. A finger from my left hand, my fiddle hand. And each day you bother me more, another I'll take off, and I'll give you, until you see sense enough to stop.
And yes, there are limbs being cut off in that play. After all, that's the salacious kind of content you came for. That's my word of the week, salacious. It's just fun to say, salacious. And it has been fun to say all of this to you. So I hope you find The Little Mermaid as engaging as I did. And as the Northern Soul Patch says, keep the faith. Wait. Also, like and subscribe and stuff so that I can ascend from down here up where the people are to slightly more engagement with these videos. All right, that's it.